Okay, yeah, hi everyone. Okay, this is the second explainer video that I'm gonna do. Uh, I'll actually touch on this topic, why invest in Bangkok. The main reason for this is that I actually did an article previously. This article is called A Compelling Case to Invest in Bangkok. I'll leave the link of this article in the YouTube description below. This is actually for people who are thinking of where they want to invest and they think that Bangkok or Thailand in general is uh, an investment option. Then they want to know why is it that people are investing in Bangkok properties. Okay, just a point to take note. Uh, a lot of people ask me, so is Bangkok going to be the best investment destination there is, or why should I put my money in Bangkok? I'm not here to argue whether uh, Bangkok is the best place to put money in, uh, and I don't think that anyone could make a compelling case ever to determine there's one particular country whereby if you put your money in, that's the best place that you can put your money in for property investment. I will always highlight to investors that you should be investing in a place whereby you are comfortable and you are familiar with. Like for myself, I have some people who are telling me that, oh, if you put money in uh, Myanmar, I can get you like returns of like 8 to 10% yield. But the thing is that I'm not comfortable with Myanmar. So even if you can probably get me 8 to 10% returns, but uh, I just don't feel comfortable with. And just because my money is there, I will be thinking on a daily basis, oh yeah, is it safe? Am I going to get it back? Yeah, and I'm not comfortable with the city um, at all. So I know this is not nothing against people in Myanmar, nothing against Myanmar in general. It's just that I personally am not familiar with this city, so I do not want to put my money in. But I'm familiar with a city like Bangkok, and I'm just making a case as to why Bangkok is a good place to invest if you're looking to invest in properties. Okay, so just a brief introduction. Okay, my friend Kevin and I, we actually run this portal called investbangkokproperty.com. It actually provides guides and the latest new project launches in central Bangkok. Just a brief introduction about us. We've been dealing with Bangkok property since 2012. Our clients come from China, Hong Kong, Singapore, Japan, Malaysia, and Indonesia. There's this Facebook close group. You can actually uh, go to this link. You will actually have to request to join our group, and currently there's about 1,400 members. You have to request, then the admins, either myself, Kevin, or a few others, will actually add you in. Inside the group, there are people who organize property tours. Some of them, they may be selling their own properties and then they put it there. We have had people who sold their Bangkok property to another buyer themselves, like really DIY from the closed group. And recently we started this Facebook page, so you can go to the Facebook page and you can go to facebook.com/investbangkokproperty and you can like our page. We will put up all the content and any updates and any new project launches on our Facebook page. Okay, so before we touch on why invest in Bangkok, we must understand why we invest in property. Property generally, people use property as a hedge against inflation. Uh, as time goes by, especially with very loose monetary policies nowadays, uh, everything is getting more and more expensive dollar terms. Um, Property will follow as everything gets more expensive. Property will increase in prices as well. So that's the main reason why people hold property. And in land scarce cities like Hong Kong, Singapore, or Bangkok, prices tend to trend upwards in the long run. Bangkok has seen quite a strong uh, run up in prices in the past few years. And it's good to have a physical asset to your portfolio, not just be heavy in terms of assets, equities or bonds. So sometimes it may be good to hold a few properties in your portfolio. And the richest people invest in property either directly or indirectly. So directly is you physically purchase the property. Indirectly is maybe you are involved in the development or you own shares in a certain development company, or maybe you own some REITs. Yeah, so in your investment portfolio. Okay, so let's take a look at why invest in Bangkok. These reasons, right, should also be the reasons or the reasons or the factors that you look at when you are looking to invest in any real estate market. You want a robust legal system whereby the interests of investors are protected. You want a prevalent resale and rental market. That means that you don't want to just buy and after that no one is going to buy off you if you intend to sell. And if you purchase, you would like to get rental if you intend to use it as an investment property. So you don't want to buy and then later the unit is actually left vacant. No investor does. It's actually ridiculous that some people are holding on to vacant units and then saying that I intended for it to be this way. That's not smart investment. So your property should be making you money at all times. Either you sell it for a profit or you rent it out for rental income. Okay, and next you want the country or the city that you are investing in to have decent economic growth, and you also need the city to be socially and politically stable. That's one of the main reasons why a lot of investors look at places like Singapore. Okay, I'm Singaporean, so I know. Just take a look at Singapore. We have a robust legal system. We have quite active resale and rental market, even though recently the rental market is pretty quiet. And we have good economic growth. Even now, our economic growth has slowed down tremendously from maybe 10-20 years ago, but that's because we are a developed economy already, and we have social and politically stable system in Singapore. So the government is not going to change overnight, and socially people tend to live harmoniously with each other. There are no like racial riots and whatnot. Okay, and even when there was one couple of years back, but it was clamped down pretty quickly. So these are the reasons. The main reason why you should invest in a real estate market is also the main reason why human beings want to live in that city. It has to be a livable city. It has to be a place where people want to stay. There is growth and it's a stable place to live. Okay, so one of the main reasons why a lot of people invest in Bangkok is that generally it's cheaper than Singapore properties, or it's also cheaper than properties in Hong Kong or in China. So you see a lot of people from Singapore, Hong Kong or China always coming to purchase Bangkok properties. In fact, a lot of our clients are actually from Hong Kong. The main reason is because Hong Kong properties are extremely expensive. But one of the pull factors, right, being cheap is not always a good reason to buy a property. Okay, so these are just some events, some photos of some events which I held back in 2013 with my previous real estate firm. These were events whereby we had a seminar, and then like the seminar had like over 50 people, sometimes there were 80 people, and they just came in, and like that was back in 2013. Okay, so it's more affordable, but that's not the main reason. But that's just one of the reasons why people are looking out. It's more of a push factor. So buyers are actually being pushed out from places like Singapore or Hong Kong or China to look at other places in the region. And one of the places where they settle down on is Bangkok. Okay, let's look at the demographics of Bangkok or Thailand in general. Thailand has quite high literacy rate, it's 98.15% for the age group 15 to 24 years. This was a survey done in 2015. The source here is I put the numbers from UNESCO. In comparison, Singapore has 99.93%, Malaysia 98.42%, Cambodia 87.13%, and Myanmar 84.75% for the same age group. Why I think that this is important is that education is always a precursor to economic growth. So you can see Singapore and Malaysia being the stronger economies in Southeast Asia. They have high literacy rate of 99.93% and 98.42%. So it's like 99 and 90, 99 and 98%, and Bangkok is, or Thailand is not too far behind. One of the other things to take note is that Singapore and Malaysia have more people that have higher education. So Bangkok or Thailand, the people who are literate, right? They have very basic education. They don't seek higher education. This is something where eventually Thailand has to catch up to places like Malaysia, and I think to Singapore it may be far-fetched to ask Thailand to catch up in the next 5 to 10 years, but eventually they should have more of their citizens seeking higher education. Why this is important is that this very young age group of 15 to 24, eventually when they go out to the workforce, their earning power will be higher than the people before them, and that's where they will demand for a better standard of living, and with better standard of living you would demand for better form of housing, and this is where the demand comes from. Okay, and next is that we're going to talk about the stability of the government. Generally the worst seems to be over. The constitutional monarchy, or the king, he keeps things in check. People respect the system, and whenever there's an issue, when the king steps in, people respect him. The recent polls have been positive. There's an election that is slated either end of this year or early next year. No one knows. But it's important to take note that during the periods of turmoil, right, the investment from the Chinese hardly fell. In fact, the Chinese have been pouring money into Bangkok, despite the fact that there's a junta government in place. It's not that people don't care about democracy in Bangkok. It's just that investors and people like myself who travel to Bangkok very frequently, even when there is a riot or there's periods of turmoil, they do not affect me. Like when I'm there and then there were these red shirt demonstrations, yeah, they just walked past me, and then I was just a foreigner, and I was traveling in the city, and it was okay. So a lot of people actually take this as part of life. Of course, we would want this not to happen, but the important thing is that the people like the Chinese, right, they focus on things like growth rather than the instability of the government. And not having a democracy, right, is acceptable because that is how China is governed. So they see the possibility for growth more than they see the instability or the lack of democracy. In fact, having the constitutional monarchy and the junta in place, right, seems to be a good option in the short run to keep everything in order. Okay. And next is that Bangkok has actually very good infrastructure. I've always maintained that having a highly efficient rail network is not simple. Okay, places like Singapore and Hong Kong, we have very good rail network. It's just that, like for Bangkok, they too have a efficient rail network. A lot of places like maybe Myanmar or Vietnam, I've or Cambodia, I've spoken to people and people say that eventually there will be an efficient rail network. The thing is that an efficient rail network doesn't come overnight. It has to go through a process of planning, and huge infrastructure construction projects have to be done to lay the foundation for an efficient rail network. You want to get good returns on your money. If you are betting that Cambodia is going to have a rail network in the next 5 years as extensive as Bangkok, then that may be a bit far-fetched. Okay. In fact, Bangkok's rail network is even more developed than places like KL. And KL property prices in general are also quite high, quite expensive. Okay, and Bangkok has 2 fully functioning international airports. They have Suvarnabhumi and they have Don Muang. So if you have traveled to Bangkok, you will know that you can touch down on either one of these airports. They have a developed banking system, and they have adequate high-grade space, office space in the central business district. In fact, they are building more. So like the super tower is coming up. It's over at Praram 9. That's why that area is getting a lot of interest. You should, if you are looking to invest in Bangkok property, you should go and take a look. Praram 9 is also located at where Unilever HQ is, and just further down a bit, you can get to the Stock Exchange of Thailand, and AIA has a Grade A office space around that area. So the central business district is expanding, and yeah, they are having high-grade office space, and they are attracting large multinational corporations into Bangkok. So you can see like Huawei, or like even I heard Alibaba is going in. So these are multinational corporations that are setting up their offices in Bangkok. Okay, and this one I will touch on in another presentation, but just for your information, the tax and legal structure for Bangkok properties, for purchasing Bangkok properties, is relatively low. Okay, just to let you know, if let's say you purchase a property, the transfer fee, or well, that's a tax, is actually paid 1% by the seller and 1% by the buyer. And if you sell the property within the first 5 years, and as an individual, you expect to pay 3.3% taxes, that's specific business tax. But if you hold the property after 5 years, your selling tax is only 0.5. So if you purchase the property as a buyer, your tax is 1%. And if you sell the property as a buyer after 5 years, your tax is 0.5%. So you can see that the low tax rate in Bangkok is quite an attractive proposition for property investors, especially for property investors who come from Hong Kong or Singapore, because the Hong Kong or Singapore government has placed very restrictive buyer's stamp duty on property purchases. And the thing about Bangkok taxes, right, property taxes, is that it does not discriminate whether you are a local or a foreigner. So the locals and the foreigners pay the same amount of taxes, irregardless of how many properties they purchase. So you can be purchasing like 5 units of a certain condominium, and your taxes are that low. Okay, and next, foreigners can outright purchase property or condominiums and hold a physical title to the property. That means if somebody goes to you and tells you that, oh, you need to invest in a certain investment scheme in Bangkok, please tell him no. Because foreigners outright, you can purchase condominiums and you can own the title to the property. When you are handed the keys to your property, you will also be handed a condominium title. This is something which I'll touch on in a later explainer video as well. Okay, so I'll show you guys a physical title, a condominium title to a property, and these titles, right, are clean, without encumbrances. They can be handed over to the foreigner, a condominium title. Okay, so foreigners can outright purchase condominium properties. Landed properties are restricted only for local Thais. Okay, so similar to Singapore, Yeah, so in Singapore, foreigners cannot purchase landed properties. Foreigners are free to purchase condominiums. Okay, but foreigners can only purchase up to 49% of the aggregate area in the condominium. So example, if the condominium aggregate area is 100 square meter, the foreigner can only purchase up to 49 square meters worth of aggregate area in that condominium. The rest have to be sold to locals. Okay, and I see this as advantageous to foreigners is because as a foreigner like myself, I can sell my property to a local or a fellow foreigner. But if the foreign quota is already filled, the local can only sell to a local. He cannot sell to a foreigner. But any point in time, as a foreigner holding a Thai property, you can sell to a fellow foreigner or a local. Because if you sell to a fellow foreigner, you did not increase the foreigner quota in your condominium. But if you sell to a local, you will have increased the local quota, and that is something that the Thai government will be pleased with. So you will always be able to sell to both. But as a local, you can only sell to local if the foreign quota is already filled. Okay, and next, right, Thailand has very good relationship with the rest of the world. There's this Trans-Asian Railway that's going on. It links all the way from Singapore all the way to Kunming. This One Belt One Road, and if you look at this map, Bangkok is strategically placed right in the middle of this Trans-Asian Railway. So actually, I've spoken quite a lot about this Bangsar Grand Station, which is located at Bangsar. The station is already there already. So if you go down and take a look at the station, the dome, I think the roofing and the dome is already up already. The last time I was there, it wasn't up yet. Yeah, it will link. It has actually 3 lines which will link all the way to Kunming, and from Bangkok, right, it links all the way down to KL and eventually KL to Singapore. But the KL to Singapore link is in question currently with the new Malaysian government. And if you take a look, yeah, Bangkok is actually quite strategically placed in this whole grand scheme of things. So you take a look at Bangkok, right? Bangkok is actually the #1 most visited city with 21.47 million foreign overnight visitors. #2 is actually London. So Bangkok being the most visited city, right? It's always showcased to the rest of the world. And Thailand has 21 free trade agreements with other countries. Singapore is 32. In comparison, Cambodia has 8, Hong Kong has 5, Philippines 10, and Australia 19. So Thailand is actually quite an open country with the rest of the world. And if you take a look at the Thai economy did well in 2017. The GDP growth was actually 3.9% for the year. This is a source, so you can follow this URL to go to the World Bank page. If you Google like Thai economy 2017 or Thai GDP growth in 2017, you should be able to see many articles showing that the Thai economy did well. And it was important to note that it was a broad-based GDP expansion, not mainly relying on tourism. So in the past, GDP expansion or GDP growth for Thailand, right, was mainly focused on tourism. So tourism was the main driver for GDP growth. But currently, the Thai economy is still expanding, and its drivers were actually manufacturing and agriculture. So it's more broad-based, not just narrowed to tourism. Okay, and the Thai government is actually spending on big-ticket infrastructure projects. If you guys were to take a look at the Thai railway line, the Bangkok railway line, you will see that there are many different lines that are going to be opening now all the way up to about 2023. They're going to like increase the number of lines tremendously. We will have a separate presentation on that, and we will actually explain the lines that are coming up. So there are many places where the lines will just intersect. It's actually important in Bangkok is because Bangkok traffic is horrible. You need a good railway network to travel within the city, and the Thai government is spending big on this rail network. They are also spending big on a lot of other infrastructure projects. You can read up on this Eastern Economic Corridor. Uh, they call it the Thailand 4.0 plan. This is the URL. It's actually the plan by the Thai government to open up certain areas in Thailand to attract more investors. Read up more in this link, and you can see why we are positive about this. One more thing is that China's One Belt One Road initiative is actually going to be a really big thing. Whenever I travel to Bangkok nowadays, a lot of times I bump into Chinese. I am Chinese, so when they look at me, they tend to ask me where do I come from, and I noticed that most of them come from mainland China. And when I ask them, like I bumped into an expatriate who was working for Huawei, then I asked him, what are you doing here? He said, oh, I'm here because my office set up an office, my China office set up an office in Bangkok. And when I visited this Habito Mall in the T77 community, which is over at Onut or Ekamai area, Onut area, done by Sansiri. Then when I went inside, I bumped into many mainland Chinese. So when I speak Chinese to them, then when they speak back to me, I just ask them like, hey, where are you from? So yeah, most of them, they are there because the Chinese company, the company in China sent them there to set up the office in central Bangkok. And a lot of them, they are in development, they are in telecommunications, they are going in quite big. Well, if you're there, you'll know. Okay, so there's also strong interest from foreign buyers. Currently, most of the interest is from Hong Kong and China. There are also strong interest from buyers from Singapore, Malaysia, Japan, Korea, and even like UK. They are looking at, or Canada. They are looking at Bangkok as a probable property investment destination. Okay, so we must understand the current Thai property situation. A lot of people say that there's an oversupply in Bangkok condos. I wouldn't necessarily disagree with that, but the thing is that if you take a look at this CBRE research, right, take a look at the dark green bars. These are actually midtown or suburban condominiums. The downtown or the investment grade condominiums, which is what us foreigners are buying, they are the light green ones. You can see that the supply is actually quite constant. There isn't an oversupply like the midtown or suburban condominiums. These are actually the mass market condominiums. So a lot of times people will say, oh, there's an oversupply. But to Singaporeans, right, we are very familiar with this thing called government subsidized housing. So in Singapore, we have this system whereby the government provides subsidized housing at an affordable rate, well, a lot more affordable than condominiums, and yeah, and a large proportion of Singaporeans stay in these properties. But in places like Bangkok, the Thai government does not provide subsidized housing to its people in the form of like Singapore's HDB. So it is up to developers to provide this subsidized housing or this mass market condominiums to the mass market buyers. And this is what is happening in Bangkok. But if you have an expatriate, right, they will not want to stay, or they will prefer to stay in the investment grade condominiums which the larger developers or the well-known developers they are building. The facilities are a lot more comprehensive. There are things like sky garden on the rooftop. There are like high-tech gyms, infinity pools. These are the things where expatriate tenants will be looking for. When you go to a mass market condominium, it is really bare bones condominiums. The quality that you go in and you take a look is in stark contrast to whatever you see in investment grade condominiums. Okay, and this is the current Thai property market situation. If you take a look, you can see places like the Riverside, right, already crossing 300,000 Thai baht per square meter. When I first started selling Thai properties, right, the property price in Sukhumvit, right, was about 135,000 Thai baht per square meter, which is the blue line. So I was in the market around here. But currently, you take a look at Sukhumvit, right, it's already about 250,000 Thai baht per square meter, or even more. Okay, so this is actually something which a lot of people have to grapple with. The thing is that the Thai property market has accelerated quite a fair bit, and now the thing is that a lot of people ask, why is it that you are not recommending me to purchase a property in Silom, Saton, or even the Sukhumvit area? The main reason why I'm not advising people, or not that I'm not advising people, is that I'm asking people to look elsewhere is because the places like Sukhumvit or Silom area is very congested. A lot of people, a lot of tenants, right, they do not want to stay in a congested area. That's why places like Thonglor, Ekamai, Prakanon, or Onut, those areas, right, they are more residential and high-end residential. So there are very good condominiums in that area, very nice restaurants, high-end establishments. So tenants tend to shift towards these areas. Okay, so the current Thai property situation is also it also has very limited financing options for foreign buyers. I actually have an article which I placed on my personal blog. You can navigate from the article below in the YouTube description, and you can see the article about Thai property loans for foreign buyers. You will notice that even despite the very limited financing options for foreign buyers, the property price in Thailand is still increasing. One of the reasons that I always tell people for that why Singapore prices are increasing is because financing is easy. So a lot of buyers, right, they see, 1 point something % interest a month, right? So I just take a look, this is how much I can afford. And this is how much the installment is. Oh yeah, it's affordable. But if the interest rate were to go back to like 2-3%, or I don't think it'll hit 4, but if it does go to like 4% then these buyers will be trapped, because their installments will have jumped a pretty substantial amount. Yeah, but the thing about the Thai property situation is that foreign buyer loans are actually quite expensive. The interest rates can be about 6% plus minus, and yet the Thai property market is still accelerating. So what I'm saying is that imagine if as time goes by, more and more financing options come on board, and banks get more and more competitive, and the interest rates drop. That is where you are going to see property prices start to go up. Okay, and one more thing is that developers need to purchase existing properties for redevelopment if they want to build in downtown Bangkok. So in Bangkok, it's not like they go there and then they see a blank piece of land and then they say, I want to build a town in this area. That's not what is happening in Bangkok. In Bangkok, right, what happens is that the developer has to purchase an existing block, then tear it down, and then after that redevelop it. In Singapore, there's an en-bloc fever that's going on, and in Bangkok, the en-bloc fever is also there, but maybe not as prevalent as what is happening in Singapore currently. Okay, so compare this to like Cambodia, whereby I actually had a developer who showed me a vast vacant plot of land, and then said that I'm going to build a town in this area. So the thing is that when you do redevelopment compared to building on a blank piece of land, right, it's very different. The thing is that good plots of land in Bangkok are hard to come by already. Okay, so that's my case for why invest in Bangkok property. Just to give you all a brief overview about investbangkokproperty.com. We are a portal for the latest launches in Bangkok. We provide buying guides, market analysis and updates. We provide property reviews, and we actually try to make it simpler for investors to purchase Bangkok properties. You can purchase just about any Bangkok property from us. We actually make site visits down to the development. So we walk around, we take a look, we video it down. If you are interested to take a look at our videos, just go to our website, go down to videos, and all the site visits are there. You can we actually film, and you can see the surrounding area. If you actually take a look at if you're actually looking at any development, you can also contact myself or Kevin. We will be able to get the unit for you, because most developers in Bangkok, right, they contact us, and then they ask us whether we have buyers for their units. So we don't put everything on our website. We just put the meaningful ones that we think are interesting and of good investment grade. But if you see something that you like and you would like to make a purchase, you can always look for Kevin or myself, and we can assist you with that. We also assist our clients in the resale and rental of units. That means the after sales, and also the defect checks and the property management portion. Yeah. So this is the contact. My colleague is Kevin. You will see him in other YouTube videos. Some of you may know him personally through conversation or whatsoever. This is his contact. You can call, SMS, or WhatsApp him on this number. This is his line contact, his WeChat, and this is his email. So my name is Daryl. This is my mobile number and my line, WeChat, and my email address. Yeah, and so that's about it. And yeah, anyway, I'll just leave my website here. So it's actually www.daryllum.com. Yeah, and yeah, so this is where I put all my blog articles. So you can go to my blog and you can read quite a lot of guides about like how to invest in Bangkok. And yeah, I hope that the video is of use to you, and hope that you pick up something. And if you're looking for a property to purchase in Bangkok, just contact Kevin or myself. Okay, so thanks, that's all.